Hello everybody, this is Petrikov, and today we're going to be doing a tutorial for V Rising. I'm going to be giving you guys some examples in just a second. Okay guys, so today we're going to be working on the bandit groups. We're going to determine which ones are good for you to try and use early to mid game and give them a 1 to 5 star in rating. We're also going to be going into the coffins just a little bit. We're going to determine what blood type does and what the location of the unit mean. Now, what the unit means, like where it's from, is basically you get a 20% resource gain if you send them in that area. But what the blood type does is it makes it so that it is easier for them to come back successfully. It reduces the difficulty by 100. And what the blood quality does is it actually would make it so that you gain more power per armor. For example, you see the expertise is at 10 right now, and that is something that actually makes all my armor stronger on this unit. It generally just makes the unit stronger and more capable of doing things on the map and defending your base. Alright now, so we're going to be looking at the Thug. We're going to go ahead and just take care of his little entourage here. Now, the Thug is the lowest level unit you can find in the game, and here's one of the reasons why. They are actually incredibly easy to dodge. Their attacks also don't do too much damage. I'd actually consider this guy nearly helpless against a player. If there's enough of them, they might do something, but you got 9 slots, and I really wouldn't recommend this unit. I'm going to be giving this guy a 1 star in defense and maybe a 2 in gathering. But as is, this guy is a very tanky character with very little damage, which means the enemy can practically ignore them while they are currently looting your base. It will take a lot to take them down if you've given them a lot of armor, but in the end, it's just not worth it. Alright, so now we're going to look at the Pocher. Basically the Thug's weaker cousin. It's a long-range unit. It is a very early unit, so it's very weak, easily defeated. So I would say that this is a 1-star defender again, because unlike the Thug, it doesn't have a lot of health. It does have a range attack, which is better, but as you can see, I'm dodging it fairly easily. And anyone who is raiding your base obviously has the ability to get in your base, which means they're already at a higher tier. They would come in here and laugh at that unit and kill it. Then they would begin to raid your base. They wouldn't even need to ignore it. They just need to throw a few bombs at it and it would die. Alright, so this is the Trapper. This is when the bandits start getting interesting because this guy has a unique ability. He has a long-range crippler. He's able to make it so that you can't move, and he uses that fairly often. He's actually one of the units I would say that can go up to mid-tier in the bandit groups. He is also really aggressive, so he's actually fairly good choice to ramp up and give some of your slower units a chance to hit him. And I would recommend at least one of these guys. I would give him a 2-star for defense and a 3-star if you got some strong bruisers. If you got some guys that hit hard but are relatively slow. I think that you would find this guy to be fairly useful in small corridors or even large corridors. I recommend them. Here's another one of the units that I would say has a good ability. This is the Mugger. He's a brawler through and through, and he has a great ability that allows him to counter you if you start hitting him. He'll do it pretty much every time, and it will counter. It's a good stun. It's another thing that the bandits have. He has a good amount of health for what he is. And I would honestly rate this guy as a 3-star defender for early game and a 2-star defender for mid game. I would recommend having a few of these guys. They are slow, so you want to have some stuff to commendate their ability to hit an enemy and to keep them away from you, because they are a fairly tough unit to take down if they're given enough armor. Remember, armor is levels, and this guy definitely attacks often enough. He just doesn't turn with the enemy. So he's good at the front line. He needs some help, but he is a good unit. Note the shield does not block spells. All right, so now we're going to get into the Thief. They're actually a fairly difficult opponent to beat in the early game. I highly recommend these guys. They are really good. I'd actually go ahead and say they are a 4-star defender in early game. They are very utilitarian, and here is why. They're able to cloak and stun. They also have a decent aggro. They can attack multiple times. They are a warrior, so they have that going for them. Their damage isn't as good as a brute's, but their attacks accommodate well with the slowness of a brute. So I recommend these guys. They're great at harassment, and they're good at stunning. A lot of the bandits have stun abilities, and as you can see, unlike the trapper, it prevents you from doing anything. They do have a little less health than the others, but you can still consider them a frontliner. I would at least. And they do their cloak fairly often. I recommend them. They are a great unit. Alright, so here's one of the heavier hitters of the enemy. They are the bombers. They throw a area effect bomb fairly often, and it's a good thing to keep your enemy dancing. I would call this something, so long as they have to worry about the damage that she's putting out, they have to dodge it, and thus keeping them busy. One of the good things about this, as you can see, the bombs do not hurt allies, so they shouldn't hurt the players either. So you can actually huddle into some of the bombing areas to kind of get yourself a breather, so long as they aren't willing to just take the damage. This is a direct damage dealer as far as the bandits are concerned. I would consider this to be a tier 3 in defense for early game, but I would only call this a tier 1 in mid game and half a star in late game, because generally she's a one-trick pony. Pretty good, but still it's something that the enemy can take on if they so desire. Alright, so now we're going to be dealing with the Deadeye. This is one of the bandits' elite archers. I actually think she's the best long-range unit the bandits have. Due to the fact that she's pretty quick, a lower level player will have a difficulty trying to keep up with her, and her attacks are fairly accurate. If you're trying to attack her, she'll be a little easier than if you're just trying to dodge her. I know I've been dodging and weaving in this fight, but I literally have a built for speed character, so it's a little hard for anyone to actually hit me. She's fairly accurate. Deadeye is the name for a reason. I recommend having 2 of these guys if you're going to have a defensive build. They're also pretty good for hunting and gathering. Alright, so now we're going to one of my favorites of the bandits, and this is the last one of them. This is the Stalker. They have a great ranged ability, and they have a great deal of health. They do a decent amount of damage, and they have a good reach. Though I will say it is easy to dodge them if you're only fighting them. I would give them another 4-star in defense due to the fact that they can be able to pull your enemy into the fray. So they are able to keep your enemy where you want them. And they are great supports for a player to defend their base. I recommend them. They have a good amount of health. They have a good amount of defense. You can find them in the front of the Bandit King's place. I really do recommend these guys. I don't recommend only these, but I recommend at least 2. Okay guys, this is the end of the video, but I'm just going to give you guys a summary and an idea. The bandits aren't very strong mid to late game, but they do have something that works pretty well. They are able to stun. They have some reliable stun units, and I think that so long as a player is involved, these guys can actually handle a top tier player with your help. I think that they can take on a mid-tier level player so long as you keep them all in the same room. Don't spread them around, and focus on debilitation. Stunning, maneuvers, pulling them back in. Control the field, guys. That's what you got to do with these units. This is one of the things that I think you really got to think about with how people play in your server and build accordingly. So the bandits have some good units. Dunley, which is the second tier, I will be going through next video. And I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. And I hope you all have a good time. And come join us in the official ham server. I'm going to, from now on, do that at the end of this, so you guys don't have to hear me say it all the time.